In the spirit of reconciliation, the new blurt acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today.
I can't take it anymore! Good afternoon, good evening, good day, and good morning, blurtsters, wherever you are around the world. You are listening to the Blurt.
You are listening to the new Blurt, the cut-down version of the new Blurt, as it were. You just had the Kegster tonight. Wencee has done a hammy, unfortunately can't be with us, but in the interest of consistency of the new Blurt, this will be our 40th episode, and next week's will be our 41st. So we are slowly but surely approaching 50 episodes of the new Blurt and the Blurt as it was. So all listeners that have been listening, thank you very much. And we will have a celebration of that when we get to our 50th show. And, what's that, about 10 weeks' time or something like that. But it should be a very good. More about that later. So tonight you're just with me. So hopefully that's okay for you. If not, too bad, because that's what you're getting. So one thing I did want to say before we start is I am coming from you tonight from the lands of the Wurundjeri. And I don't want to try to say that too many times. But that was the local tribe. That was their, and that is their country. So on with the show. What are we talking about? I can't remember. COVID, of course, COVID. No, there's something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But one of the things I did want to mention was that the census came out today. So it is compulsory. And the thing that I do find funny is that you get a piece of paper in the post, which I hate, detest, because I rather get email, because I'm trying to save the trees, etc. So you get a piece of paper telling you where to go on a website. You do the maths. I mean, I don't get that. It's not helping anyone. Can't you email that stuff? Why are we so far behind? I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I digress. Tonight is all about COVID, unfortunately, because there's just so much COVID-y stuff going on. But I just wanted to get a lot of stuff off my chest that I haven't been able to get off my chest in the show. Not because I haven't been able to speak my mind, just because we do different things in the show. As you know, we have different segments. We have a bit of fun. We have a bit of seriousness. We have Party in the USA. We have Indelible Indigenous, which is all about our Indigenous people. And the wonderful things they're doing now, the wonderful things they've done in the past. We have another segment called On This Day, which is all about what happens on this day, how many, certain amount of years ago, et cetera, and we've got another one called Listen to This, where Wencee finds an album, usually a local one, that he's listening to, and he will give us a bit of an expose on that and give us a review, which is really cool. We've got another one called Do Yourself a Favor, which is all about your best podcasts. We're about to have a new segment coming up called Let's Get Technical. I know, not quite as good as physical, but there you go. So that we do have a science. We have a science, and we've talked quite a lot about our science on this show as well. But Let's Get Technical is going to scratch the geek itch of Wencee, and he's more than happy to put his hand up for that. He absolutely loves his tech, so this is one that he'll really enjoy. Maybe not quite as much as Be-Education, but I know that he'll definitely enjoy it. We obviously have SOAS, which is sports of all sorts, where we go around the nations and try to find out all different wonderful sort of sports that are going on. And as we know, the Tokyo Olympics is going on at the moment. That's really interesting, without crowds, etc. And apparently journalists, etc., that are there are saying they can actually hear the protesters outside. So that must be wonderful for the competitors. I would imagine the atmosphere must be just electric. Not. But good on the swimmers and good on everyone that's been competing. And also good on the two athletes. The one athlete today, I think Simone Biles from the gymnastics, that pulled out because of mental health issues. And I think the fact that You can do that on the world stage now. And I mean, she obviously will get trolled for that because that's what people do. But good on her. I hope she has help and assistance to get her through the tough time she's going through. I can imagine that when you are an elite athlete, there's a massive amount of pressure you put on yourself, not to mention the amount of pressure that your country is putting on you, or you at least feel that, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, all the best for Simone Biles on that one. And anyone, obviously, who is suffering from that that side of things, we will definitely have a link to Blue. Oh my goodness me! I can't. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Not Lifeline. I will think of it, and we will have show notes to to organisations that can assist you with mental health issues, etc. And yeah, so going on, so sports of all sorts. We've I said part of the news. I'm thinking about a new one coming up, so that'll be worth hanging around for. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to, what the sting's going to be and what it's actually going to be called, but I can give you a little bit of a teaser that we'll be discussing really, really interesting food internationally around the world. We're going to try to find the most different, exotic, expensive, just all different sort of levels of difference and uniqueness in food around the world. So that segment will be coming up very soon in the new Blurt as well, when wencee is back on board. But he is not tonight. So I thought I would just say how our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, is doing a very, very terrible job of our vaccine rollout in this country. He basically put all his eggs in one AstraZeneca basket, and that's because it was the cheapest one to find, and he didn't get enough of it at the time, and he didn't think about Moderna, Novavax, Johnson & Johnson, or even Pfizer. He obviously did do Pfizer, but nowhere near enough. So we know that this Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, has had a really bad track record when it comes to crises. He had a terrible track record in the bushfires. The only reason that we got any semblance of strategy and were able to deal with the bushfires a couple of years ago, last year's a bit of a blur, as we all know, is because of the states working together, which is slightly different to what's happening at the moment. We do have a national cabinet. It does say national and it does say cabinet, but I'm thinking that a lot of people are trying to get out of that cabinet and lock the door on the outside, especially with Gladys Berejiklian being in that cabinet, because we would like to board her up and her state up because she won't do it herself. So it is a nightmare in New South Wales at the moment. They have had another 177 cases today. And I found out, look, it's really sad. It is sad, but apparently in New South Wales or Sydney, I apologise, you can't do general inspections of houses anymore. No, apparently you can't. No. Apparently that is just a step too far. And so they're locking that down. Am I being slightly ironic? I think I am, because that is like one of the first week or two things that you do if you have to lock down. You stop people going places like that. At the moment, you can still do 10 Ks in Sydney. It's absolutely ridiculous. I can totally understand why the people in Southwest Sydney are so upset, because they feel like they're made the pariah of what's going on in the massive amount of cases out that way. I understand that there's many cases in Southwest Sydney, et cetera, but the fact is that New South Wales is rife with COVID at the moment. They have 60 people infectious running around in the community, just going, hey, COVID. And just come here, shake my hand, let me spit on you. That'd be great. Yep, you've got COVID. Thanks very much for that. Thanks for coming. So they're in a lot of shit, and I believe that they'll probably peak to 200. They don't think they've peaked yet, and I think they'll definitely get to that 200. We're having a bit of a bet, my friends and I, on how long they'll be in lockdown. We've had a bit of a sweepstakes. We've said 2 months, and we've pushed that out now because obviously it's another 4 weeks, so that will be 2 months without trying. But we're airing on about 4 months, so we'll just see how we go. See what they do there. They're now thinking about rapid antigen tests, which are meant to be far, far quicker than obviously getting tested every 3 days, especially if you're a truck driver and you're trying to go over the border to deliver your goods, etc. I found it quite hilarious that some of the information came back that the truck drivers were. We're talking about really, like hard truck drivers that are usually, lots of tattoos, eat on, out in the in the sort of the stations out back, etc., etc. They're just tough. I wouldn't say salt of the earth, but they're part of the earth. They're like really tough guys, girls, doing a hard job. But apparently, getting a nasal swab is just it's just too far to travel. Can't nasal swab. No, we stop on the nasal swab. That's just too painful. Don't worry about the truck driving over our foot or anything like that, or being half bitten by a snake in the outback, etc. When we're traveling with our road train, etc. But a nasal swab, no, we can't do that. Now, don't get me wrong. The nasal swab is not the most pleasant thing you ever want to happen. But if it finds out that you have COVID and you stop dying and go in isolation, stop giving to other people, it's probably a really good idea. So these rapid antigen tests, which we will talk about, probably not next week because I'm doing a little bit of COVID now, but probably in a couple of weeks' time when they start being more prevalent, because they're being talked about now. There's, I think, a Liberal doctor in the Victorian Liberal Party. He's talking about rapid antigen tests, and it's probably not necessarily a bad idea. Norman Swan's been discussing it, and I know that the press, as soon as they hear a term like rapid antigen test, they're all over it. Like a pig in shit, basically, and they just keep banging questions about rapid antigen, and it's hilarious because they sound like they're the doctors themselves. In fact, do they not even just sound like they're the doctors? They actually sound like they're the people that invented the stuff, and they're advocating it that much. They know that much about it. But so very, very interesting. But nonetheless, it needs to be looked at. There's no doubt about that. Quite a few epidemiologists and virologists, I believe, are extolling the virtues of rapid antigen tests, and I believe they are definitely thinking about it in New South Wales because they're a basket case at the moment. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, because of the fact that they've been locked down again, our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, has come out again and said, we'll have to pay them some more money. It's unfortunate. We only had a $60 billion budget the other year that we overpaid, and so we couldn't spend any of that. But we're going to just have to suck into that budget, unfortunately, and just pay people that can't work because they've got a disease, because of the fact that we didn't get a vaccine when we should have had it, and we should be what we're saying. I think 70% all vaccinated by October or something. That was the target. We don't have targets now. It's all about horizons. But I do like the fact that the alternative Prime Minister, Albo, said something that was really interesting the other day, which he was saying that the thing about horizons is you can't reach them. Now, I thought that was a very, very good call, because the targets you can, horizons you can't. So words mean many things, and they have very many meanings. So our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, doing a terrible, shocking job there. Now, what else have we got here? We have got, the Gladys Berejiklian. I'm not even going to have a crack at her name because it's just not worth doing that. That's not on. There's no point doing that. But she's doing a shocking job. Terrible. Really, really bad. I know she's doing the best job she thinks she can do, but she is doing the best job she thinks her people want to hear her do, because she doesn't want to say to them, I need to lock you down now. You need not to leave your house. These are the situations you can leave your house. No. She's still doing 4-year-old. Please stay at home, kiddies. Okay, now don't go out the house. Don't go out the house. No, I told you, Johnny, not out the house, not now. No. And make sure you wear, well, you could wear your mask. It'd be good if you'd wear your mask. Now, just in case you don't know, Sydney, because I'm not sure, but this is the type of thing we're talking about. This is an awesome little mask that a friend of mine put me onto, a beautiful mask maker. I believe that's upside down. Yes, it is. That is a magnificent mushroom, and that's been beautifully made and beautifully sewn inside. And I might even put the link on the page because she is amazing, absolutely amazing. So, Sydney, that's a mask. That's a mask, Sydney. And that is what you should be wearing every single day and every single hour if you are outside. You should not be seeing anyone without one. We are still wearing masks here and we're not locked down anymore. So, I don't know. Anyway, and the other thing is, right, we're not getting Pfizer, 85 million doses. We're not getting them until 22-23. Well, 22-23. But they're saying the way we're going at the moment, we'll be fully vaccinated by January to March 2022. I am double vaxxed. My other half is double vaxxed here. I've been trying to find out how my daughter can get vaccinated as well. She's getting into the sort of adult age. And, it shouldn't be this hard. If you want to get vaccinated, you should be able to. And so, as I say, it's an absolute blot on the landscape of the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison's agenda, that we are in the situation that we're in, that any time we have an issue, as we have had with the Delta variant, because as we know, it's so contagious and it can go from 10 people and then within one day, 30 people can have it after that. And it just, astronomically doubles, triples, quadruples after that. It's just an absolute shock of a variant. And I've even heard that the variant after this one, I think is Gamma, and I think that is out there. They've called it a variant of interest, but it's not, it's not something that we have to be interested in yet, and hopefully we won't be. But sooner or later, we will have to open up our borders, and that will be a scary time. But all we can do is do the right thing by each other, especially in Victoria and the rest of the country, because South Australia came out of lockdown when we came out of lockdown. And the whole reason they did that quickly was because they wear masks, they do the right thing, they shut down where you can travel to. It's a short, quick lockdown, and it's right at the start. Now, Adelaide, South Australia is completely different to Victoria. We've got about nearly 7 million people in Victoria. At least South Australia is nowhere near that. Queensland's a massive, massive state. They've only got 5 million in that whole state. So a lot of people spread out. But Sydney and Melbourne are the big ones because we've got about 4.5 million in Melbourne. I think Sydney's got anywhere between 5 and 6 million, Sydney, I think. So concentrated areas, I mean, even in the UK, they are now 90% first dose vaxxed on AstraZeneca because, they didn't, as we did here, we gave AstraZeneca a really bad rap, and because of the blood clot situation, and it was only, it wasn't many people that had that situation, but it didn't matter, apparently. We were still going to say that we're too risk averse to do AstraZeneca. So, as I say, I'm double vaxxed, and it's by AstraZeneca. And I thank you very much, AstraZeneca, for that vaccine, because it is an absolute cracker. And we know that because 70% of the UK are double vaxxed. Now, the unvaccinated have issues in the UK, and they feel that the cases in the UK will go up to 200,000 in the next couple of months. And I have a very, very good correspondent in the UK that I am desperate to get in touch with and get back onto the show as soon as we can, organise the timeframes and all the rest of it to get a eyewitness account of what's actually happening over there. Because as we know, Bojo had his Freedom Day, which basically meant no one needs to wear a mask. No masks. No masks at all. No masks. And that's public transport and all the rest of it. But if this is going out to the UK, all I would say is wear a mask wherever you can. I mean, I will still be wearing a mask for quite a while, even when they say we don't need to. Definitely not all the time walking about, but if people are around me that I don't know, I'll definitely make sure my mask is handy, and I'll definitely have it on public transport. And if I go out to a show at night, I'll definitely make sure it's near me. And if I'm, quite near a lot of people, I'm just going to whack it on, because that's the sort of protection we're going to need going forward. So especially if we want to see shows, because there's so many things happening in Victoria at the moment. We've got Hamilton coming, we've got Moulin Rouge coming up. There's different festivals coming up in spring. It's just all happening. So we want to be, we want to be part of it. So we all have to look out for each other. That's the thing. Now, I would say that for New South Wales as well, you need to look out for the rest of the country as well, because we all did the right thing. We made sure when we had a state of emergency that we put a ring of steel around our states so that it didn't get out and didn't go into your state. Now, you're not doing that, which is pretty bad. Pretty bad form, and we're going to have to do it for you. So if you keep coming up with 200 odd cases a day, unfortunately, I think we'll be shutting you out for a while, Sydney. So, we'll see you on the other side, as it were. Now, end of the show. As I say, quick one tonight. But what I did want to mention was a brilliant podcast called Brian Tyler Cohen. Now, Brian Tyler Cohen is he's an activist, if you like. He's an actor in the US, but he's very much a political activist, and he's got his own channel. He's got his own podcast, and his podcast is called Don't Lie. And he doesn't. He absolutely tells you the truth. And there's no doubt that on this podcast, if he could get some right-wing nut jobs, like some of the Republican Party's representatives, if he could get them on his show, he would talk to them, but they will never come on his show. That's as easy as that, really. So he ends up talking to a lot of sort of leftist progressive sort of people, and they could be authors of a particular publication that's talking about how the parliamentary process in the Congress in America is running at the moment, the impeachment aftermath, et cetera, Capitol riots aftermath. So Brian talks about all this sort of stuff on his show. It's an absolutely fantastic show. He's had Elizabeth Warren on his show, who is a magnificent advocate for green strategy and green policy in the US. And she was actually going for vice president, but she was in the president race for 2020 as well. Yeah, that was the only good thing about 2020, getting rid of that orange doofus. Anyway, I have written to Brian Tyler Cohen, and somehow, some way, I don't know how, but I've asked him if we can get him on the show one time, obviously in the Party in the USA segment. I would love that to happen. And I don't know if it's possible, but I would love it to happen. He's a fascinating gentleman, and we'll see what comes out. See what comes back. But anyway, he has a fund called Don't Be a Mitch Fund. I'm not sure if you saw what he did there, but Don't Be a Mitch. He's talking about Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is the guy who is the most senior Republican in the House, basically. And he was very much sort of Trump's sort of right-hand man a bit. Although they didn't have a fantastic relationship, he's a nasty piece of work, to be honest. And he's gutless too, because he could have impeached Trump properly. And what happened was, after the impeachment, he just whined and banged on about how bad Trump was, etc. But he didn't have enough guts to actually cross the floor, go with the Democrats, and actually impeach him properly, so that this doofus can never ever run for president in the USA ever again. It looks lately I've been hearing a little bit of his name far too much for my liking. The only time I want to hear it is that he's in court and he's going to jail. I'd love to see those headlines, but yeah, at the moment it's a bit scary. It just seems like when you've got that much money and notoriety and so much support, because his nut job supporters are just Marjorie Taylor Greene, just goes on. Seriously, these are horrible individuals. You would never want to meet them. They're just ugh. They're just scum of the earth. They're really not nice people, and they're quite stupid. But anyway, that's that. I will put links on the show notes. No problems about that whatsoever. I will put the podcast for Brian Tyler Cohen if you're interested in looking at that. I think I put on Do Yourself a Favor. If I haven't, do yourself a favor. Brian Tyler Cohen. Absolutely. Go and check it out. So as we have said before many times on this show, that's your lot. Just a short one. Just letting you know. So this should be out soon. If you want to get it as a podcast, it's only a short one, but it tells you a little bit, and I hope you had fun. I had a lot of fun. Oh, it's good just ranting. Anyway, we'll see you soon. All right, we'll see you next week on the 40th episode of The New Blur. Enjoy and keep safe.